Right. So I'm setting off at St John's Chapel. It's quite it's a lovely morning, bit fresh, but expect that. And this is me making a decision to finally get off my arse really and do something. For most of my life I've been a jaw keyboard warrior and complained about how things are, and I just felt it was time for me to do something. So I'm going to attempt, a step at a time, to walk from my home to London. And they asked why. Well, I think the catalyst is what's going on in Israel and Gaza at the moment, but that isn't the full reason of everything. I think this is like 50 years of trying to work stuff out, and my views, and what maybe the solution is, rather than just talk about what the problems are. I grew up, and one of the things that was most prevalent in my childhood is the fact of what happened not only in the Second World War, but what happened to people in the Second World War. The Jews were part of that. There was also others. There were people who were disabled, and there were people who were Romany gypsies and other members of society that were horrifically treated, and they were herded into a place that they said was for their own safety. They were then starved of food and water and basic needs and medical assistance, and then eventually killed. And there was so much of echoes of that for me over the last few weeks. And I'm not taking this is not about taking sides, because everyone's losing lives. I understand that. Do you know what I mean? And no one seems to want to ask for why. And also I've got a young son, and part of what's happened with him is that I look back at my life, and for the whole of my life we've been at war. We've been at war with someone. If it wasn't the Cold War and growing up in the fear of being annihilated at any time by these horrible Ruskies who have no regard for human life, and all the other stuff that I was told, and then it goes on to little mini wars, and then Afghanistan and the weapons of mass destruction that weren't. I think we were the weapon of mass destruction without a doubt. You know what I mean? And once again, 1 million people died, and and then if that wasn't enough, we decided that we needed to remove people. We need to impose our democracies around the world, because our way is right and everyone else's way is, well, not right and subhuman, or whatever we want to demonize it at that point. So we go and invade Libya and Africa and Afghanistan, and then tell us, but what they do is they tell us it's all our fault. We didn't start this. I mean, I'm constantly told it makes the world a safer place, but I rarely see that. And I don't think most people feel that safe, to be honest with you, because of it. But then it comes to the crux of everything, and what I'm watching now, and in Israel, I think, this is just my view, and Israel was, people are going to say, is what's it got to do with us? Well, it's got a lot to do with us. We actually created the state of it, or helped majority to create the state of Israel. And one of the things that we did is we forcibly displaced people. It's very kind language to say, is if you don't leave, we're going to kill you. And so we give them no choice, basically. Well, there's a choice, but it's not a particularly great one. And then this was created, and then what happens is it's continued to expand unrelentingly without any checks and balances, funded by our ability to supply better weapons to them than the other guys got. And You know, and where does it end up? It ends up where it's ended up today, where the Palestinians, you know, believe that the Israelis shouldn't exist, and the Israelis believe the Palestinians don't exist. And you know, I don't. You know, our government stands with Israel, and I think partly that tells me that this government, like most Western governments, are no longer representative of the people. They're more just a representative of who pays them or who they work for. What I've realised is that's really me, and part of this walk from my home in County Durham, hopefully to London, is I will pass through many constituents and many MPs, and at that point I will, you know, hold them to account as best I can for their judgments, their actions, and a little bit of background, especially in an election year. So that's where we are. And the biggest thing that worries me is that we live in a world that's constant division. Everyone's constantly got to take a side. No one wants to look for humanity. Oh, not no one. You know, we are drawn not to look for humanity. We are drawn for division. I see it in my own society, from everything from the vaxxers to the anti-vaxxers, to the climate change to the non-climate change, to the rich to the poor, to the sick to the healthy, to the people who can pay for healthcare for the people who can't. And the list is endless, do you know what I mean? From the migrants to the non-migrants, from the disabled to the non-disabled. You know, and is this the kind of world that we want? And who profits from this? You know, we don't profit from it. You know, I'm aware of that. I believe that the society that I live in is both poor morally and poor financially because of it. But someone is. That's without a doubt. And it's just an overall method of control. So part of this for me is to you know, try to heal division. This is what it's about, you know. We are one race. We live on one planet. We will not be here forever. And the idea to instill fear and hate in our children so they can carry on this cycle, you know, is abhorrent. And I think we have a moral duty to start addressing this. You know, there's always money for war. There never seems to be money for peace. I never see a pot of money for peace. You know, I see us being self-defending as we invade another country. You know, I see us wanting to impose a democracy on companies. You know what I mean? Well, the reality is, I think it was Plato that says democracy is the worst of all rules. Governments, because at the end of the day, what you can do, and like what I believe we've got today, where we've got 600 MPs who will not reflect the thoughts of the nation as a whole, will not look to heal the divides in our nation, will look to exploit, attack, and constantly, you know, slice us into ever more dividing sectors, so we become more malleable to rule, so they need less votes to win, and subsequently they can then work for whoever their current paymasters are. It just requires a little bit of effort to go and have a look to see who they actually are. So that's what this is about overall, hopefully. It hasn't been too long. I could talk about it for hours, but it's pretty pointless. So, you know, this is going to be tough. I'm not a young man. I'm certainly not a fit man. But I feel like finally I've got off my arse and done something. And hopefully people along the way will come and join me. We can have discourses, we can even have discussions, we can even have differences. But the goal will always be to try and find some common ground, something that benefits everyone. You know, and if people have given me their time to do that, that would be the biggest benefit that I could ask for. So, yep, hopefully I'll meet many wonderful people with wonderful ideas along the way, and not forgetting them people who are suffering, not forgetting the horrific crimes committed, and maybe not forgetting, worst of all, that the people who perpetrate them will not be brought to justice. And I'll tell you how I know that. We made one a night. That says it all for me. And many others now live in the echelons of power in this country and probably around the world. Okay, hopefully I'll catch you up soon. My first stop is my local constituent MP, and if he wishes to contact me on the way, I'm more than happy to have a discourse with him. Everyone have a great Saturday. Bye.